In this video, my friend, I'm going to share with you why identity is more important than you can possibly imagine. As a matter of fact, more than just your name, your identity is a state of consciousness that can help you unlock many different levels of life that most of us are not really aware of. All right? And this is what I'd like to discuss with you. Dimitri here. Let's get right into it. When I say your identity matters, many people simply say, oh yeah, my name, my family background, yeah, that's my identity, yeah, where I come from, my education, my level of education, so on and so forth. Yeah, that's what they refer to as identity. So if the identity, whatever they come to identify as identity is big, they will say, yes, I'm big. Because that's actually big. And when the background is very humble, they will tend then to simply say, oh yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but I can't really relate to that. But in this particular video, I'm like to share with you something really key. More than just your family background, your own personal background, your level of education, so on and so forth, where you come from, and everything that we know on the surface, your identity is the level of consciousness. And more than that, it's actually a map that can help you unlock many different things that you need as far as your life is concerned. And if the map is broken or if the map is outdated, chances are you're not going to be able to function well, because you need to have something that is up to date and relevant to give you the proper guidance as far as where you want to go from point A to point B. I'm just going to give you just a couple examples, and after that I'm going to get now into more specifics. So please stay with me until the very end. First example is 2023, and the second example will be 1924. In 2023, there was a movie that was released in Hollywood by the name of John Wick, the fourth one. With Keanu Reeves finding himself all of a sudden, John Wick's in the movie, finding himself all of a sudden again in hot waters, because the organization that he used to be a part of, they are now after him. They say, because you went after one of the elders of the organization, now we have to go and actually take your life. Basically, it's a life for a life. And they say, we are basically going to do anything and everything to make this happen. So it was getting so intense to the point where we realized that, yes, there is absolutely no way out. The guy who's after me, his name is Le Marquis, somewhere out of a European country, is now looking for me all over the place. And has put all the money on the table to get me basically eliminated. So now John Wick has now to go to a place where he has to start thinking differently. And at one point, one of his friends simply said to him, I believe there's a way out of this situation. He says, yeah, you have to come to a place where you have to engage and challenge this gentleman, the Marquis, to a duel with you. And I say, but that's not gonna work. I say, of course it cannot work, because in order for you to get to a duel with this particular gentleman, he has to see you as someone at his level. So you have to have a name that carries a cachet. John Wick is fine, but John Wick as an identity is lacking something. So you have to go back to this family of yours that may be upset with you. You have to go back with them and beg them to accept you as one of their own again. And that's what exactly John Wick does. He goes to his family, and after pleading with them, eventually they agree that they were going to brand him as one of their own. The condition was for him to go after one of the family enemies, and if he was successful, then they were going to rebrand him as one of their own. And because John Wick was successful, eventually when he goes back to them, they rebranded him as one of their own. So now he was able to go now to this organization, the table, and simply say, yes, I have a family, I have a new identity, so I have a new state of consciousness, and therefore I have the right now to challenge this gentleman into a duel. And now, of course, that was what was agreed as far as the two parties were concerned. And in the end, of course, I won't spoil the movie. You have to go watch the movie first. It was just released last year. But why am I talking about this particular movie first of all? Because it reminds me so strangely of another story that took place, a real story, in 1924 somewhere in Europe. A gentleman, a French merchant by the name of Louis Cartier, who was actually making beautiful jewels for all the upper class as far as the world is concerned. He found himself in a place where he realized that as a family, they no longer needed to marry into money, because because they had the money. But what they were looking for, they were looking for what they were calling in French lettre de noblesse, or basically a letter that would simply qualify them to be seen as part of the upper class. So it just happened that he had met a young girl by the name of Jacqueline Almasi Bensinston, and she was a member of the nobility out of Hungary. They agreed to actually get married, and that was sometime in 1924. So as they got married, shortly after that, they received also an invitation from a gentleman, not a marquis, but this time a baron, Baron Maurice de Rotschild, who was related to the Rothschild family. They received the invitation. They were completely shocked. Monsieur and Madame Cartier invited to a party at Baron Maurice de Rotschild. They was of course excited because Louis Cartier, he said to himself, that was of course, they were thinking back in the days, I'm a merchant, and the member of nobility, they are very picky. They don't like to congregate or socialize with people who are not part of the upper class. So, but for some reason, now they seem to think I am one of their own. So he has invited me, so this is a very good way of welcoming me into the higher society. He was beyond excited. The day of the event, he went to the event. And his wife, Jackie, as they used to call her, was already dancing on the dance floor. And at one point, as Louis Cartier was just minding his own business and just enjoying one of the cocktails, he see Baron Maurice de Rotschild just come to him and simply says, "You! What are you doing here?" He was a bit shocked. So he looked around and said, "But who's he referring to?" I said, "You! Louis Cartier! What are you doing here?" I said, "But Baron, I believe there's a misunderstanding because you invited me here." He says, "No, I did not invite you." He says, "Yes, you invited me." So, "No, I did. Even if I did, right now, change my mind. Please get out." So all his customers, the member of the nobility or the upper class, were now around them watching what that was actually happening. Louis felt embarrassed. He just called his wife Jackie and they left. He felt so humiliated that he went to his home, and right after that, he started calling some of the friends. They were also at the party. Some of his customers. He says, "Yeah, come, I believe there's a misunderstanding." So he went through his stuff, and eventually he was able to retrieve that letter, that invitation he had received from Baron Maurice de Rotschild. And he showed it to them and simply said, "Yes, this is what happened. He sent me the invitation, so this must be a misunderstanding. But because this guy has already humiliated me, now I need to avenge my reputation. I'm going to challenge this gentleman to a duel. So what you have to do, you have to carry this evidence back to Baron Maurice de Rotschild and ask him also to get ready because I want to challenge him to a duel." That's what they did. The following morning, they went to his place, and as he woke up, they showed him the evidence, and he simply said, "This is what the gentleman would like to do when it comes to fixing his reputation." He was a response they got from Baron de Rotschild. He started laughing. He laughed so much that in the end they were completely confused. And that was the only answer he gave to this matter. Because in his mind, as a calculating man, he simply says, if I give you a chance to now engage with me when it comes to this duel, I'm simply going to give you the back door to come into the nobility. So now you're going to be seen as an equal as far as we are concerned. I refuse to see you as an equal, and I refuse to even address this particular request you sent to me because you are not at my level. And that was the end of the story. But why am I telling you this particular story? Simply, when it comes to contrasting the two stories, you can easily see that, yes, your identity is more than just your name. Your identity is a state of consciousness, number one. Number two, more specifically, your identity, properly understood, it's simply a framework, a way of thinking that you're going to have to access to this particular identity. In the case of John Wilkes, the issues, or more specifically, the problems he was actually dealing with were such that they could not be solved at this particular level of consciousness that he was initially. So he had to reinvent himself. He had to rebrand himself. He had to simply access a higher level of consciousness, which was basically through another identity. Once he was able to find this level of consciousness, he was now able to be able to challenge the Marquis and basically get to a place he was now going to be able to outwit him on his own turf. So as far as you are concerned, as far as your life is concerned right now, I'm simply going to give you just a simple assignment. Instead of simply trying to figure out how you're going to fix whatever issues, whatever problem you're facing right now, I'm giving you just a first step to consider. On a piece of paper, here's what you're going to do. Simply ask yourself the key question. What am I dealing with right now? W, what? That's the first W. The second W is, who am I? Because if you see yourself at this particular level, this issue will be, of course, far beyond your pedigree, far beyond your pay grade, far beyond your level of nobility. But once you are able to elevate yourself and to simply say, I am somebody, I am more than enough, I am a queen, I am a king, and you rise to that level of consciousness, what's going to happen is you're going to see now, you're going to now access a different level of consciousness that's going to give you different frameworks that's going to allow for you now to address whatever you are dealing with right now. So again, the first W, what are you dealing with? Number two, who are you? And the third letter is simply, what would you do? What are you dealing with? Who are you? And once you discover who you are, the question is now, as a king or as a queen, what would you do when it comes to this particular matter? And as you start asking yourself this particular question, your identity is now going to open up possibilities and give you the proper route to go from point A to point B without actually losing your mind. And that's absolutely crucial. If you've been enjoying this video, please make sure to share it with as many people as possible. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that next time we put together a video, you can be amongst the first one to see it. Alright, now back to our presentation. And the last question is simply, what are you going to do next? Because once you know what you're dealing with, and you have identified who you are, you've been able to upgrade your identity, to upgrade your level of consciousness. It's simply going now to open up the possibilities. What are you going to do? What would you do? What would someone of your caliber do in this particular situation? And once you start thinking like that, the last question you have to consider is, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? As long as you are willing now to start taking action, my friend, whatever you are dealing with is going to start shrinking in size as far as your eyes and minds are concerned. Again, your identity is more than your name. Your identity is a state of consciousness. It's a framework that's supposed to help you unlock the possibilities and the way to move from where you are now all the way to the next spot. All right, I'm going to stop right here. Before I go, just a couple reminders. If you want to flip the switch as far as your life is concerned and become the type of personal brand that's going to help you access the higher level of consciousness to bring it to a place now you start dealing with bigger issues and bigger problems and shrinking them by the way of thinking, my friend, can simply reach out to us and we're going to help you fine-tune a few things and help you do this shifting in identity that's going to allow you to now move up and start addressing this issue in the way that you were so designed to do. All right? And last but not least, just a reminder, you are a man of significance. You are a woman of significance. But in order for that significance to be manifested, you simply have to remain intentional as far as how you deal with yourself is concerned. So more than you can possibly imagine, just say to yourself, my identity is absolutely important. My identity is more than just my name. My identity is a state of consciousness I choose to embrace, and that state of consciousness is going now to allow for me to access a framework, different framework that's going to help me now start addressing my problems, start addressing my issues in the way that I was so designed to do. All right, much love everyone. Take good care. I'm out.